Deep within the walls of Nottingham Trent University live some of the world's most amazing animals, creepy crawlies and beasts. Making the introductions is the only man who can handle these exotic creatures. NTU Brackenhurst campus's Matt Norris joins me now with a Northern African gerbil and a blue-tongued Australian lizard. Hi Matt, there you go. That was an introduction and a half. Right then, which are we starting with first, scaly or furry?
I thought we would start with the furry, the more cuddly of the animals today. So yeah, this is a Duprasi, also known as a fat-tailed gerbil, as you quite rightly mentioned, and they come from the northern portions of the Sahara Desert. And as you can see, he's quite active today. And the reason for that is, while most of the animals that would be out during the daytime would be going to bed about now, this guy is nocturnal, so he's actually just waking up. And if I position him just right, you might be able to see his fat little tail there.
Oh, I thought that's one of your fingers. That's his tail. Oh, wow. Why has he got
easily confused?
Yeah. Why has he got a fat tail?
That's a great question. So these guys use their tails in a very, very similar way to how camels use their humps. So while most people think that camels use their humps to conserve water, a camel's hump is actually full of fat tissue. And that is the exact same for the fat-tailed gerbil here. So they can fill up fat stores in their tail. And then during times of need, they're able to depreciate those fat stores in order to give themselves energy, basically.
Oh, right. So do they hibernate? I'm showing off my brilliant animal knowledge now, aren't I?
No, these are fab questions, because if you're not sure, then chances are viewers won't be either. So these guys don't actually, because they come from quite warm regions, but they will have times of the year where they will be slightly less active than others, or where there might be less food. Again, they're able to use the fat stores in their tail, but otherwise they don't typically hibernate, and certainly not in the same way as most of the mammals that live in colder regions of the world.
Oh, of course, that's why they hibernate, because it's cold. Yeah, of course. So how fat's his tail at the moment then? These are the questions I never thought I would ask.
It is relatively plump at the minute, and that's because being in captivity, we like to think we feed our animals plenty of food. So unlike in the wild, where there could be times that are quite tough, he has quite a cushy life here at Nottingham Trent University. So there's plenty of food to go around, which means plenty of fat in the tail.
And obviously people keep gerbils as pets. Would you keep a fat-tailed gerbil as a pet?
So certainly some people can. They're certainly less common in the pet trade, but they are about in the UK, and their care requirements are broadly similar to other gerbils. So one unusual characteristic is that this guy, rather than taking normal baths like we would, actually takes sand baths or dust bathes, and that's how they clean themselves. So he has a little bowl of sand in the enclosure, just like you could give to any other gerbil, and he actually washes himself in sand, oddly enough.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, it cuts out the middleman, doesn't it? Right, well, he's lovely. He's so fluffy and cute, but we are going to move on to something a bit, more cold-blooded. See, I know that much.
A little bit, yeah, more cold-blooded. So, up next, we actually have him in this enclosure here, which is very handy. We have our Australian blue-tongued skink. Over to the camera.
Oh, look at that! Right on cue, he stuck his blue tongue out as if to prove it. Why is his tongue blue, Matt?
Oh, here we go. Another good question. So,
nailing it.
In Australia, where these guys live, they'll typically use their tongue to try and deter predators if they're feeling threatened. So, though at the minute he's just sticking his tongue out, and essentially what he's doing at the minute is he's tasting the air. So one of the functions of the tongue is to be able to smell. So by flicking it out, normally they're able to just essentially smell or taste the air. But if you were to feel really, really threatened, if I were to scare him, then they're able to rock back on their front legs, open their mouth as wide as they can, and they'll stick the whole of the tongue out. And what you can't see is that the tongue is essentially the exact same size as his whole head. So it can be quite a startling display. And the idea is that if he feels threatened, he can do that. And essentially it's just such a weird maneuver that it will scare away anything that tries to eat him.
Very similar to Gene Simmons from Kiss, if you know who he is.
Yes.
Is he the full size now?
Yes, this guy's full sized. So you get many different species of blue-tongued skink, but This one is certainly one of the largest, and he's about 2 foot long. He's really, really quite stout. And in Australia, you'll find these guys up the east coast as well as the northern part of Australia. And actually, me and my wife a few years ago did the typical tourist thing of going over on a working holiday visa to Australia. And we'd occasionally get these guys coming into our gardens. And they're actually very handy in Australia because a lot of the things they eat are the kind of things that would destroy your garden. So things like slugs and snails, lots of creepy crawlies that like to eat vegetables. So they're basically like lizard dustbins.
Brilliant. Matt, it's always great to have you on the show. Thank you and your guests as well. We'll speak to you again soon.